Hello. So we have here Mr. Tim Martineau, Deputy Executive Director of UNAIDS, and Ms. Ebony Jensen, a consultant. Yes. So the first question will be for Mr. Tim.
Do I need to hold this?
You ready? Okay. I lost my questions. I freaked out and I pressed the wrong button. Oops, I don't have my questions. Could I please have like a question sheet? I pressed the button and lost all my questions. Can I have like the questions? I pressed the button and lost my questions. I freaked out.
Do you do this all day, every day?
No, it's my first time. I've never done this before.
No, but you've been doing it all day today.
Since, no. I've
Sorry,
been in
it's a bit
tunnels.
small,
Yeah.
but it's this.
I
Okay?
can see it, yes.
Yeah?
Okay. Okay.
All right. We'll start again. We'll start again.
Okay. For joining us, we have here today Mr. Tim Martineau, the Executive Director of UNAIDS, and Ms. Ebony Jensen, consultant. The first question will go to Mr. Tim. We would like to know, many UN organizations work on women and girls issues. What is the uniqueness that UNAIDS brings to the table?
Okay, thank you. It's a good question. First response to that is I think we should all be working together. It's a really important agenda that needs everybody collaborating and working closely together. There's two or three things that we think makes us a little bit different and something that we hope can contribute to the response. One is we've always had at the heart of what we do a human rights and civil society agenda and approach to addressing AIDS that I think we can bring to this and using AIDS as an entry point, look at women's empowerment, look at issues of violence and look at gender equality, taking HIV and AIDS as an entry point to deal with that. Second thing we've often done is to have a very strong focus on data and strategic information, and I think it's data and information that will drive the response that we need to see to make change. The other thing with the UNAIDS joint program is that we can bring together a range of co-sponsor organizations, UNICEF, WHO, UNFPA, in a coordinated and collaborative approach, so that can really help to make sure that we bring a multi-sectoral response to what we're doing.
Great,
Okay.
thank you very much. And what would be the link between gender-based violence and what you do?
Oh, it's an enormous issue. We sponsored a Security Council resolution around gender-based violence and HIV in 2012, if I remember correctly. But it's a fundamental issue. We were just talking about it in the panel we had earlier that Ebony was chairing, facilitating, and you know, so many women face violence, whether it's from their intimate partners, whether it's from strangers and coercion at young ages, at all ages, and it's a fundamental issue. If we're going to deal with HIV, is we have to deal with gender-based violence.
Thank you very much for insight on that. Ms. Ebony, we would like to know, as an advocate that links communities' perspective to HIV policy and practice, tell us how and on what you work together with what results?
Well, for me, a big part of making that linkage is actually working with the communities to find out not only who they are, but what they need. Sometimes what happens in very high-level processes, people are taking decisions without being able to understand the communities, understanding what is unique to that area, whether it's migration patterns, whether it's social norms, whether it's culture. So I entered a space with a sense of cultural humility. My passion is working with young women, building leadership, expanding the talents that young women already have, to not only come to a meeting and give a speech, not only come in to share their realities, but to come and put solutions on the table, to come and be integrated into the conversation, to really getting down to the tangible realities, to talk about structural barriers, to give context, to be able to really participate in a way that often isn't seen. And I think that's what I've appreciated in working with and partnering with UNAIDS, is that they have a real good focus on civil society. And I'm hoping that we see more structures that are creating space not only on a one-off but ongoing ways for civil society and particularly women and young women to actively participate, to set agenda, to bring topical issues, and also to be in the funding landscape, because we see so many women's and girls organizations without funding. And so we talk about actively participating, making that linkages. Part of that is making sure that we have strong and sustainable women and girls organizations, women's rights organizations, where the real work happens, where the mentorship happens, where the leadership building happens, and where that integrative and participatory experience builds out from.
Thank you very much.